My name is Heather Bolender. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in women, trauma, and burnout. 2 years ago, upon leaving my agency job, I told myself that I would give private practice 2 years. And if after 2 years I wasn't feeling healthier, happier, and more whole, I would find something else to do with my life. Full stop. This practice was my last attempt to stay in the mental health field. Because 6 years of working in community mental health had done a number on me. I was treating a high volume of clients with severe and persistent mental illness with limited professional support. Like many therapists and social workers, I cared deeply about the people I served. But over time, the pace, the pressure, the emotional labor, the moral injury, and the systemic demands of the work started to feel less like meaningful sacrifice and more like Walt Whitman's warning to dismiss whatever insults your soul. The work was insulting my soul. The work required my nervous system to be constantly on, alert, vigilant, on call, ready to call 911, ready to call security, ready to physically defend myself, ready for someone else's release from jail, ready for a client's withdrawal from meth. The work was unsustainable. And for a long time, I thought the problem was me. I thought there must be a way to become better at tolerating it. Push harder, optimize better, become more disciplined, become more efficient, practice better self-care so I could continue enduring what was hurting me. But eventually I started wondering, what if the problem wasn't my difficulty tolerating the workload? What if the workload itself was incompatible with long-term human well-being? There's a concept in health psychology called allostatic load, which describes the cumulative wear and tear that chronic stress places on the body over time. In trauma therapy, we often talk about a window of tolerance, the zone where our nervous systems can function effectively without becoming overwhelmed or shut down. Different fields use different language, but increasingly, I think they're all pointing to something profoundly important. Human beings seem to have an individual range of sustainable emotional, cognitive, and relational output, a kind of psychological carrying capacity. Not a fixed number, not a personal failing, not something to judge, just a reality worth understanding. Humans aren't machines. Humans are ecosystems. There's a well-established theory in weight management that suggests the body has a preferred range that it actively defends over time. The more I've learned about burnout, overwhelm, and nervous system functioning, the more I've wondered if something similar is probably true psychologically. What if many of us have spent years trying to force ourselves beyond our natural carrying capacity? What if the goal isn't becoming a person who can tolerate more and more? What if the goal is building a life that allows us to thrive? Healthy ecosystems require cycles, growth and rest, activity and recovery, expansion and contraction. Here in Colorado, no one expects perpetual summer. The mountains need winter. The soil needs replenishment. Fields sometimes need to lie fallow. Healthy land cannot be harvested endlessly without consequences, and neither can human beings. Many high-achieving women have been taught to measure themselves by how much they can carry, how much they can produce, how much they can tolerate, how much they can give. But capacity isn't simply about what we can do. It's about what our nervous systems can sustainably metabolize without requiring costly recovery afterward. Therapy work is deeply meaningful to me, but it is also metabolically expensive work. It requires sustained emotional attunement, executive functioning, empathy, presence, and relational engagement for hours at a time. And honestly, many women are doing similar work whether or not they're therapists. Reading the room, anticipating the needs, keeping the peace, absorbing stress, providing emotional care for everyone around them. It's exhausting work, and it's largely invisible. For a long time, I lived in this gap. I was functioning, but I wasn't well. I started noticing something important. When we chronically exceed our psychological carrying capacity, the system eventually starts fighting back. Not because we're weak, because living systems need balance. The nervous system will continue pushing toward equilibrium, whether we cooperate with it or not. And that's often when people begin experiencing what we casually call burnout, exhaustion, numbing, resentment, difficulty focusing, loss of motivation, a growing urge to withdraw from activities that once felt manageable. Something has to give. The paradox is that chronic override often reduces functioning over time. People become less resilient, less creative, less emotionally available, and more dependent on compensatory behaviors as the nervous system reallocates energy toward protection instead of growth. Over the last 2 years, I've slowly stopped asking how much I could force myself to tolerate and started asking what conditions help me thrive. That shift changed everything. I've built a private practice and a life that my nervous system no longer has to fight me on. I'm selective about the clients I work with. I've found my ideal number of sessions in a day, and I respect it. I take breaks. I spend more time outside. I nap. I move my body. I say no, often. Last week, I took a week off from seeing clients and went on a solo van getaway in the Colorado mountains for what I jokingly called a staff appreciation retreat. To show my appreciation to the sole employee of this enterprise. I was able to breathe deeply, reflect, listen, make small adjustments to support my well-being instead of eroding it. And it is no small thing to be able to say this honestly. I love my work. I feel incredibly lucky to do what I do, not because I became tougher, not because I learned how to handle more, not because I optimized myself into becoming a more effective machine. I spent a long time grieving the fact that my personal expectations and my nervous system weren't in agreement. I wanted to accomplish more than my nervous system could healthfully support. I wanted certain goals more than I wanted to acknowledge my limits. The grief is real. But on the other side, I found something better. I stopped organizing my life around chronic override. And in doing so, I fell back in love with my professional work. It breaks my heart to think about how close I came to walking away from the most meaningful work of my life thus far. Burnout is not weakness. Many of us are operating inside systems fundamentally misaligned with what human nervous systems actually require, particularly women. We live in cultures that reward self-abandonment, endless emotional labor, caregiving without restoration, and productivity at all costs. We're praised for overriding ourselves until one day we can't. Maybe rest, spaciousness, boundaries, and sustainable living aren't indulgences. Maybe they're a form of resistance. Maybe caring for ourselves is not laziness. Maybe it's stewardship. Your nervous system wasn't designed for perpetual production. She was designed for rhythm, for seasons, for renewal. As I celebrate 2 years in private practice, I feel proud not only that my business survived, but that I survived alongside it. I didn't just build a career, I built a life that feels inhabitable, sustainable, durable, and joyful. And honestly, for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to keep going onward.